much the simple acts of devotion that people do. Now, this is in contrast to most rabbis. Most rabbis, if something people do doesn't have a source, it's not a law, it's not part of Judaism. Now, it's true, there are things that are superstitious that have come in, folklore that have come in, but there are a lot of things that people do very, very simply. For instance, the Shabbat Zmirot. On the Shabbat, we eat 3 special Shabbat meals, one in the evening, one before midday, and one in the afternoon. And there are special hymns that were written for these meals. Now, these hymns were written in the Middle Ages and even later, and there are many people who say, it's for common people. I'm a higher level, I'll study something at the table. I won't waste my time on this. Rabbi Nachman said this is very, very precious. It's precious to God that a person singing God's praise, that he said we should not knock anything people do. There's a Ashkenazi custom to eat kreplach. You know what kreplach are? Jewish wontons. Okay?
Jewish what?
Wontons. To eat kreplach 3 times a year. Anybody know what times a year? It's Ashkenazi custom.
Every Saturday?
No. Not quite. Not on your Kippur, you eat wontons?
No.
The last meal before the fast starts on Yom Kippur. When else? On Purim and Hoshana Rabbah, which is the 7th day of Sukkot, where it's customary to go around the synagogue with willow branches and at the end beat them on the ground. And that day we have a meal also with kreplach. And the Tzradim never heard of it. It's Ashkenazi custom. Now,
what does it signify?
Officially nobody knows. The guess of certain Hasidic leaders is that all these 3 holidays we beat something. What? On Yom Kippur we beat Hashem the Begadnu, confession. On Hoshana Rabbah we beat the willows on the ground. On Purim we beat the name of Haman when the Megillah is read. What is beating conjure up in our minds? When you have wheat, you have to beat it to get the seeds out from the chaff. Kreplach are meat surrounded by dough. The really good stuff is hidden. And we have to kind of beat the ordinary stuff to get to the excellent stuff. We have to kind of break through it. And, okay, now, these kind of things that people do, yes, what are you doing? I don't know, it's tradition. Tavia, tradition! But Rabbi Nachman says that doing it for God, even something that is as mundane as that, is very precious to God. When you had a small child in kindergarten, they brought you home a picture. Honestly, pictures kids draw in kindergarten are not very good. I think anybody's an art critic will agree to that. Yet it meant a lot to you. Why? Your child did it for you. Did it for you.
You always said it looked like Picasso.
Right.
Well, that's actually what the guy said to the matchmaker. So what kind of girl you fix me up with? So they'll give you like Picasso, you don't. Okay. Anyway. But the Megillah I read in Purim every year. Was written to me by son Eli. Actually, he's ill now. He's in the hospital. So I'll say the saying of the story. His merit go for the recovery of Eliel Chaim ben Simachana Alevi. And anyway, when he was 14, he wrote the Megillah for me. He sat down for several weeks. He learned from me some of the scribal law. He picked up very well, actually. And he got the parchment, the ink, the quills. I have to use a bamboo thing. He wrote the entire scroll of Esther for me as a gift. Okay? Now, there are Megillahs that have a nicer writing. That's kosher. I mean, that does have a nice writing. It's not such a pretty writing. But the fact it was done for me by my child. And, at 14, that he wrote the Megillah, it means to me an immense amount. More than a Megillah that was written by a stranger, even if it's a nicer writing. So the same way, anything we do for God gives God nachas, gives God pleasure that we want to serve Him. Rabbi Nachman said that the reason why the Baal Shem Tov treasured his daughter Adel even more than his disciples, that her whole life was, what can I do to give God pleasure? How can I please God? Everything she did, will this please God or not please God? But because she went around that thought constantly, the Baal Shem Tov regarded her, she's Rabbi Nachman's grandmother, that was her thought, that made her more precious to Baal Shem Tov than his disciples, who were great scholars and great mystics, etc. Yeah.
So eating kreplach is to please God.
If you're keeping a custom. No, wait. So I'm not going to tell a Yemenite Jew or a Sephardic Jew go outside eating kreplach. The point is, anything you're doing, as mundane as it may be, it may have a reason, may not have a reason. You're doing it to please God. That is precious to God. That some people knock common people's concepts. Okay, if it's contrary to Jewish law, it should be knocked. But if it's not contrary to Jewish law, it's just a neutral kind of thing. But people do it. Rabbi Nachman urged very, very much. In fact, more than anything else, people coming to him for Rosh Hashanah. And thank God, this year I will be there for Rosh Hashanah in Rabbi Nachman's wrestling place with 30,000 other people, God willing. And
how many of them Jews?
No, all Jews. 90 an individual, and there's no other two or not. One year, a Japanese reporter came. And he was covering it for a Japanese TV station. Next year he came, he converted, and he came as a participant. Okay.
That's interesting.
Yeah, okay. Anyway.
Does it work for them too?
What's that?
Does it work for them too?
Sure. What do you mean, does it work for them too?
If he's not a Jew.
Yeah. Anyway. For many years, the pilgrimage of Menachem's grave was impossible. During the Stalinist era, for most of Khrushchev's era, we couldn't go for Rosh Hashanah, certainly. And it only restarted going for Rosh Hashanah in the late 80s. And people who were there the first years told me that there were several Russian Jews who came from distant places, did not know Hebrew, but their grandfather told them, Rosh Hashanah must be in this place. They came all over, stood there for 48 hours, and left. They didn't say anything. They didn't know any prayers. They knew, Rosh Hashanah, you need to be at this spot. And people come their whole lives. There was an older man coming with a child, or a middle-aged man coming with a child. He gave it over to the child too. You got to be here every year, Rosh Hashanah. Okay. And anything a person does, so they don't know the prayers. They came from who knows where, give up who knows what, to be at a holy place they believe they need to be. Okay, and that is very precious. Besides the great privilege of being there, but that a person takes all the effort. Rabbi Nachman said, the footsteps of people traveling to me, the light of those footsteps is something I can't even attain myself. I can't fathom it myself. That people go out of the way to walk, to receive Torah, to be inspired, to be spiritually fixed. That is extreme. That we go out of our way for God, just like the child doing something for us. We have tremendous nachas, and it gives tremendous pleasure in all the worlds. Menachem would actually himself would sing these Shabbat table hymns as Zmirot. Before he became very ill with tuberculosis, he would sing all of them, each of the Shabbat meals, even meals Saturday night that he had afterwards. He would sing these songs. He spoke about the greatness of the burial place of the Baal Shem Tov. Now, the Baal Shem Tov was a very unique individual. He came at a time when Jewish faith had weakened greatly because of two events in Jewish history that happened in 1648, 1649, the Chmielnicki massacres, and then in 1666, the Shabbatai Tzvi debacle, and people had lost their faith, lost their property, many lost their lives, and the Baal Shem Tov came to the middle of that and said, God loves the simple people, not just the scholars. And
what's the reason now that people have lost their faith?
Remember I talked about Tikkun Chatzot alienation? Okay, that I think what happened when people came to America, first of all, Jewish leadership was sadly mistaken in Europe. They said, don't go to America. It's a treif in the Medina. It's a treif country. Okay, non-kosher country. And the fact is there were no significant rabbis in America until the mid-20th century. Jews were led really by knowledgeable laymen, rabbi here and there, but no great sheikhs for the most part. And in America, remember in reading back in the early days before unions, if you don't come to work Saturday, don't come to work Monday. People couldn't keep Shabbat. Judaism became a folklore of the old world. Young people didn't relate to. If you're dealing with only ritual and what seems like childish stories, nothing to hold the people. And since Jews always valued